All right, let's dive into one of the most intense, high-stakes intellectual showdowns you'll ever find. We're going to break down a single chapter from an ancient text where one teacher faces this incredible barrage of traps, political, theological, you name it. This isn't just a story, it's a masterclass in thinking on your feet.
So forget any idea of a quiet sermon on a hillside. The chapter we're looking at today, Matthew 22, it frames this day as a series of intense interrogations. I mean, every single word is a potential landmine and a battle of wits that could and would have some pretty profound consequences.
But here's the thing. Before his opponents can even get a question out, Jesus kind of throws the first punch. He tells this provocative story, a parable, that immediately puts everyone on edge. It's a tale about a king, a wedding, and some very surprising guests.
And this story is just pure drama. You have these invited elites who don't just say no thanks to the king's invitation, they're disrespectful, and they even end up killing his messengers. The king's reaction? It's brutal. But then, in this wild twist, the invitation is thrown open to literally everyone off the street, good and bad alike. But, and this is a big but, there's a final catch. Even with an open invitation, there's still a standard you have to meet.
And this is the line that just electrifies the air. Now, you got to put yourself in the shoes of the powerful leaders listening to this. For them, it's not just some story. It's a direct challenge. It implies that the insiders, the ones who thought they had a guaranteed spot, might be the very ones who get left out. And that, well, that sets the stage for their counterattack. So who exactly are these interrogators? Well, they're these distinct groups, and they were often rivals. But here, they've formed these uneasy alliances to deal with what they see as a common problem. You've got the Pharisees, who are the experts in religious law. Then there are the Herodians, the political players loyal to Rome. And finally, you have the Sadducees, the temple's priestly elite. Each of them came with their own agenda, ready to pounce.
The first challenge is just a brilliant political trap. It's a team effort by the Pharisees and the Herodians, and it's designed to force an impossible choice between your religious loyalty and your political reality.
Now, the question sounds simple enough, right? But it's a masterpiece of political maneuvering. See, this tax wasn't just about money. It was a constant, daily reminder of Roman occupation. So the question is really a public test. Are you with your own people, or are you with the Roman oppressors?
It's a perfect trap, a classic lose-lose. If Jesus says yes, pay the tax, he loses all credibility with the Jewish people. They'd see him as a collaborator. But if he says no, well, the pro-Roman Herodians are standing right there ready to report him for sedition. There's seemingly no way out.
But the answer? Wow. It completely diffuses the bomb. He asks for a coin, points to Caesar's face on it, and basically acknowledges this worldly obligation. But then he immediately pivots to a much higher, spiritual one. He doesn't pick a side. He completely reframes the entire debate, and it leaves his opponents totally amazed and forced to back off.
Okay, so with the political trap foiled, a new group steps up to the plate. This time, it's the Sadducees. And these guys didn't even believe in the resurrection, so they come forward with this theological brain teaser designed to make the whole concept look completely absurd.
They cook up this really elaborate scenario based on an old marriage law. The story just gets more and more ridiculous with each brother, and it's all just a setup for their one seemingly unanswerable gotcha question.
This is their checkmate. They think they've found a fundamental, logical flaw in the whole idea of an afterlife. In their very earthly, legalistic view of the world, this is a paradox, and there's just no way to solve it. They're thinking, aha, got him.
But Jesus' response isn't to solve their little riddle. No. He just dismisses the entire premise. He essentially tells them, you're asking the wrong question because your imagination is way too small. He's accusing them of trying to cram the infinite power of God into this tiny little box of human rules and regulations.
And he lands his argument with this incredibly powerful statement. He actually quotes their own scriptures back at them, pointing out that God speaks about patriarchs who'd been dead for centuries in the present tense. His logic is simple. If God is the God of the living, well, then they must still be living. The argument just astonishes the crowd and completely silences the Sadducees.
So now the Pharisees, they see their rivals just got shut down, and they regroup for one more try. This time, it's an ethical trap. They send an expert in the law to test him on a matter of religious priority.
This was actually a pretty common debate at the time. You have to remember, there were 613 distinct laws in the Torah. So by asking Jesus to pick just one as the greatest, they're hoping he'll downplay the others. That would give them an angle to attack his teaching as being, unbalanced or incomplete.
But once again, Jesus just sidesteps the trap. He doesn't pick one commandment, he picks two, and shows how they're basically two sides of the same coin. He gives them a vertical relationship, love for God, and a horizontal one, love for your neighbor, and presents them as a single unified idea.
And this final statement is the masterstroke. He's not just answering the question, he's giving them the key to the entire system. He's saying, look, every other rule, every prophecy, it all just hangs on these two core ideas. And, well, what can you say to that? He's left them with absolutely nothing to argue about.
So after successfully navigating 3 ambushes, Jesus flips the script. The person being interrogated now becomes the interrogator. It's his turn, and he poses a question of his own, aimed right at the heart of their entire theology.
He starts off easy, with a question they all know the answer to. It's practically a catechism question. The answer is the Son of David. This is the foundational, expected belief about the Messiah's family tree.
And this is where he springs his own trap. He quotes a psalm that they all knew and revered, where their greatest ancestor, King David, refers to the future Messiah not as his son, but as his Lord. And the paradox is immediate. Wait a minute. How can the Messiah be both David's descendant and David's superior at the very same time?
The result is just stunning. Total, complete silence. Their own scriptures held a mystery that their theological system just couldn't solve. His question exposed a hard limit to their understanding, and they had no answer. They were just stuck. And that's the final verdict on the day's events. The day of questions is definitively over. He hasn't just answered every trap they laid for him, he's left them with a question of his own that renders them completely speechless. The confrontation is won.
So we're left with this. Think about it. They came at him with questions about rules, taxes, marriage, laws, all about what people should do. But he ended the entire conversation with a single question about identity, about who someone is. And that was the one question nobody could answer. It really makes you wonder, why is the question of who are you so much more profound, so much more powerful than any question about what are the rules?